I have a string of Bible verses and some Gematria at the end, if that's good for tonight.
All right, let's hear it.
Okay, so we'll just start in 2 Kings chapter 4, verse 38. So Elisha returned, and while in the company of the prophets, she was meeting with him, and he said to his servant, "Put on a large pot and cook some stew for these prophets." One of them went out into the fields, gathered herbs, found a wild vine, and picked it. Yada yada. The stew was poured out for the men, but as they began to eat it, they cried out, "Man of God, there is death in the pot," and they couldn't eat it. So she thought she was cooking for prophets, and they put a wild vine in the pot, and all of a sudden there's death in the pot. And then Jesus, John 15, starts with him saying, "I'm the true vine," right? And what I think that plant is that it's referencing is belladonna, because it can put you into, they used it as like an anesthesia, and also it's a poison if you take too much of it, but it can put you into like an anesthesia state, so like a death state, and then like a dream state, like a prophet. And then another example I would say is Lot and his daughters. This is Genesis 19, verse 30. The daughters trick him and they say, "Let's get our father to drink wine and then sleep with them to preserve our family line through our father." And then it says they get him to drink the wine and he was not aware of it when she lay down or when she got up. So again, he's like completely out of it, right? And they reference it as sleeping. And again, I mean, wine comes from grape, which grows on a vine. So then John 11, verse 11, he told them, "Our friend Lazarus is asleep. I'm going in there to wake him up." And then if you just look up, like, what's the antidote if you take too much belladonna, it says there's no known antidote, just take like charcoal or whatever. But if you read Dioscordes, who was a Greek physician who wrote between 50, 70 Common Era, and belladonna is what Cleopatra used to put in her eyes because it makes your pupils dilate, so you see more light than you would regularly. Light, right? And then,
Is there a
so
direction to
then,
your call? Or like you keep laughing in the background. I don't know if it's nervous laughter or what are we doing?
no, because I'm just referencing the terms, and it's funny how people interpret this stuff to be the word of God, but I'm showing you how they're using a drug throughout the Bible, and this drug puts you in a death state. And if you have the antidote, which Dioscordes, who is a contemporary with Jesus Christ, he says the antidote is vinegar. And then in the Bible, they said Jesus' last words, he says, "I'm thirsty." One of the key things to know when you're poisoned by belladonna in the first century is that you start to suddenly get super thirsty. And so what does the Bible say? John 19, verse 28, 29, he says, "I'm thirsty." A jar of wine vinegar was there. So they soaked it up on a sponge and put it up to his lips. I mean, it's funny when you notice it, right? And
I
then
guess.
another symptom of being poisoned by belladonna is that you can't urinate. So you hold the fluids in your body more than you would regularly. And remember, when Jesus gets pierced with the spear, it says there's a flow of blood and water. So they're giving you the symptoms are all there. And I'll just end with the Gematria because you're not into it, sorry. But belladonna has 80, 35, 190, 55. Those are the four cipher values. You write out fake death, it's the same. and 80, 35, 55 overlap with Satan, right? Enter the death state. I mean, using this drug.
Okay.
So
And
that was
so
my thought.
ultimately, the point you're trying to make is what?
That you can see in the Bible, they're using drugs to get to prophets. And Jesus says, I'm the true vine. And there was a god of intoxication, which is symbolized by the vine. So, I mean, this is pre-Jesus. Jesus is embodying these symbols. And then, they poison their father to sleep with them in the holy text. He's asleep. Lazarus, Jesus says he's just asleep. The cure for belladonna is vinegar. When Jesus is on the cross, he says, I'm thirsty, give me vinegar. I mean, that's all I had to say. Thanks.
Okay. He hung up.